November 11th, 2012. Just before sunrise, on a quiet Caribbean island, a housekeeper opens a door and finds a man lying in his own blood. One bullet.
Clean.
Precise. Execution style. By dawn, police already have their suspect. Not a cartel boss. Not a gang leader. But a Silicon Valley millionaire. John McAfee. The man whose software once protected half the computers on Earth. When officers arrive to question him, his gate is open. His house is empty. And John McAfee is already gone. What follows defies belief. He fakes medical emergencies. Escapes deportation hours before extradition. Vanishes for months at sea while taunting law enforcement online. 3 countries issue warrants.
Interpol gets involved.
The United States deploys international resources. And every single time they close in, John McAfee slips away. This isn't just a fugitive story. It's a blueprint for how one man made entire governments look unprepared, outmatched, almost amateur. So how does a 70-year-old tech mogul stay free for years? And what finally happens when the chase runs out of ocean? A maverick is born. Silicon Valley, 1987. Personal computers are exploding into offices and homes, and so is a brand new fear. Invisible threats. Malicious code. Viruses spreading through floppy disks like digital disease. Most people panic. John McAfee sees opportunity. In his spare time, while working as a programmer, he writes a small detection program. Just a handful of lines of code. Simple. Elegant. Effective. He calls it virus scan. Within weeks, phones start ringing. Within months, he quits his job. And McAfee Associates is born, quite literally, out of the trunk of his car. But McAfee's real brilliance isn't technical. It's psychological. In interviews, he warns of catastrophic financial collapse caused by computer viruses. He amplifies fear just enough to make companies desperate, and then sells them the cure. It works. By 1990, half of the Fortune 100 are paying him. Revenue doubles every 6 months. John McAfee becomes Silicon Valley royalty, the man who tamed the digital wilderness. And he hates every second of it. Board meetings feel like prison. Shareholders feel like handlers.
Rules feel like chains.
This is a man who got expelled from a doctoral program, fired from engineering jobs, and once hid behind a dumpster during a drug-induced panic attack. The same man who hosted occult rituals and sex contests at company headquarters, not for pleasure, but to provoke, to rebel. Corporate life is suffocating him. So in 1993, he cashes out. $100 million. No goodbye tour. No legacy planning. At 48 years old, John McAfee walks away from the empire that still bears his name. For a while, life feels like liberation. Yoga retreats. Ultralight aircraft. Eastern mysticism. But nothing sticks. Then comes 2008. The financial crash erases most of his fortune. 9 figures collapse to just a few million. To McAfee, the loss doesn't humble him. It confirms something darker. That governments and institutions exist to drain freedom from individuals. I'll never let the state own my life, he says. And he means it. In 2009, John McAfee boards a plane to Belize.
No extradition treaty.
Minimal oversight. And just enough chaos to disappear. Turquoise water. White sand. Jungle isolation. At first, it looks like paradise. But paradise has a way of amplifying what you already are. John McAfee didn't go to Belize to relax. He went there to build something new. Something secretive. Something armed. And something that would eventually turn him into the most wanted man in the Caribbean. Belize doesn't tame John McAfee. It removes the guardrails. He buys a beachside villa on Ambergris Cay, postcard perfect, tourist-friendly. Then, quietly, he buys something else. A jungle compound near Orange Walk, far from curious eyes. This is where things change. Armed guards patrol the perimeter. Ex-convicts. Local muscle. Men who don't ask questions. McAfee builds a makeshift laboratory and announces his newest obsession, curing antibiotic-resistant superbugs using jungle plants. To outsiders, it sounds eccentric. To locals, it sounds dangerous. Teenage girlfriends rotate through the compound. Loyalty is enforced with money and fear. Bonfire parties rage into the night. Automatic weapons displayed openly, not hidden, not subtle. A message. By day, McAfee pilots his ultralight aircraft over the reef. By night, he drinks, plots, and spirals. He even launches a company, Quarmex, to legitimize the experiments. On paper, he's a researcher. In reality, paranoia is taking root. The same instincts that once protected his company are mutating into something darker. He picks fights with gangsters over territory. He clashes with neighbors over noise. He talks constantly about enemies. And Belize is not a place where foreigners get the last word. April 30th, 2012. Just after dawn, McAfee's compound erupts into chaos. The gang suppression unit arrives in tactical gear. No warrant shown. Weapons raised. Orders shouted. McAfee, his girlfriend, and staff are lined against a wall at gunpoint. Then the dogs charge. Four massive mastiffs, bred for aggression, sprint toward the officers. A warning is shouted. One dog lunges. A shotgun blast drops it mid-stride. "You kill my ing dog," McAfee screams. Officers force him into the dirt. They tear through the compound for 6 hours, overturning equipment, seizing firearms, confiscating chemical bottles McAfee insists are experimental antibiotics. They find no drugs.
No trafficking. No cartel país.
Just one unlicensed firearm, a paperwork violation. Still, they haul him to Belize City. Still, they lock him overnight in a holding cell nicknamed the Piss House, named for the open sewer running through it. McAfee bribes a guard for a cigarette. Uses a trash bag as a belt because they confiscated his clothes. He's released the next morning without charges. But something inside him snaps. The switch flips. From that night on, John McAfee is convinced the government wants him dead. Is it paranoia? Maybe. Is it irrational? That's harder to say. He sleeps with a Glock under his pillow. Installs tripwires and cameras. Talks about assassins, cartels, corrupt police working together. Belize's prime minister later calls him extremely paranoid, even bonkers. McAfee takes it as validation. Only the paranoid survive. Just 50 yards away, another story is unfolding. Gregory Fall, 52 years old, Florida expat. He moved to Ambergris Caye for quiet mornings and calm seas. Instead, he got John McAfee. McAfee's dogs roam freely, barking all night, biting tourists. Fall files complaints with local officials. Noise violations. Dangerous animals. Eventually, he confronts McAfee directly. "Control your dogs," he warns, "or I'll deal with them myself." McAfee refuses. The dogs are security. Then, on November 9th, 2012, everything explodes. That night, McAfee's dogs begin to foam at the mouth. One collapses. Then another. Then another. For animals convulse and die before sunrise. Poisoned. McAfee is devastated, then enraged. He orders staff to shoot the remaining dogs to end their suffering. He paces the compound, pistol in hand, convinced someone has sent a message. Cartels? Corrupt police? Or the neighbor who made threats? 24 hours later, another message arrives. November 10th, 2012. A single gunshot cracks the night air on Ambergris Caye. Neighbors hear it, dismiss it as fireworks. A car backfiring. Nothing unusual. The next morning, November 11th, a housekeeper enters Gregory Fall's home. He's lying face up on the floor. A pool of blood beneath him. A 9mm round through the back of his head. Execution style. His laptop is gone. His phone is missing. The island freezes. An American has been murdered in paradise. Police move fast. They head straight to Fall's volatile neighbor. But when officers arrive at McAfee's compound around noon, the gate is open. The house is empty. John McAfee saw them coming. He grabbed his girlfriend, Samantha, and vanished into the jungle. By the time police knock, he's already underground. Literally. Buried in sand, breathing through a hole, hiding from helicopters overhead. The man who once protected millions of computers is now the prime suspect in a homicide. And in running, he's just declared war on an entire government. John McAfee isn't improvising. He's been preparing for this moment for months. Safe houses.
Contact.
Escape routes. The question isn't if he can run. It's how long he can stay invisible in a country that wants him gone, or dead. 23653. John McAfee doesn't run blindly. He disappears with purpose. Within hours of vanishing, he and Samantha begin moving through a pre-built network of hideouts scattered across Belize's interior, abandoned warehouses, sympathetic locals' homes, a fishing shack tucked along a mangrove river. Places without records. People who can't be followed. Police respond with force. Roadblocks choke every major highway. Soldiers sweep the jungle with dogs. Helicopters rake the canopy overhead. Homes connected to McAfee are raided. Associates are questioned. Pressure mounts. And yet nothing. McAfee becomes a rumor. A shadow. A ghost moving through a country the size of Massachusetts. 3 days in, McAfee is hiding inside a concrete bunker while police search less than 200 yards away. He finds an old television. On screen, Swiss Family Robinson, the 1960s film about castaways building a fortress on a deserted island. McAfee laughs. Maybe I should build a treehouse, he jokes. But the reality is grim. Every hour in Belize shrinks his odds. Informants are talking. Borders are tightening. The jungle isn't protection, it's a countdown. He needs an exit. November 14th, 2012. 3 days after the murder. Under cover of darkness, McAfee boards a small fishing boat on Belize's southern coast. He pays the captain $2,000 in cash for an illegal crossing.
No paperwork. No passport stamps.
No trail. The engine cuts offshore. The boat drifts into Guatemalan waters. At 3 a.m., they land on a deserted beach near Puerto Barrios. McAfee and Samantha disappear into the trees. By sunrise, they're in Guatemala City, checking into a hotel under fake names. For the first time in 72 hours, John McAfee exhales. He's escaped Belize. But escape has never been enough for him. With Gregory Fall's murder dominating international headlines, McAfee makes a decision that defies logic. Instead of hiding, he calls the media. Through encrypted email, he contacts Vice magazine and offers something irresistible: exclusive access to the world's most wanted antivirus mogul. The editors can't believe it. A reporter and photographer fly to Guatemala. They spend days with McAfee, laughing, drinking, documenting his escape. Photos are taken. Smiles shared. A triumphant post goes live. We've made it to safety. The internet explodes. And with it, McAfee's cover disintegrates. Within hours, a hacker notices something fatal. The photos contain EXIF data. Hidden GPS coordinates. Exact location. The tweet goes viral. John, I found you. Check your photo metadata. Every intelligence agency on Earth now knows where you are. McAfee's media stunt just turned into a beacon. December 5th, 2012. 24 days after the murder. Guatemalan police storm the hotel. McAfee is in the lobby talking with lawyers when officers surround him. Handcuffs snap shut. Cameras flash.
No shootout. No chase.
Just sudden, total containment. The charge isn't murder. It's illegal entry. The sentence: deportation to Belize within 48 hours. For McAfee, that's a death sentence. Locked in a detention cell, McAfee crumples to the floor. My heart, he gasps. Mi corazón. Guards panic. An ambulance races him to a Guatemala City hospital. Breaking news floods the world. John McAfee has suffered heart attacks in custody. Guatemala freezes the deportation, terrified of an international incident. Reporters swarm the hospital. McAfee lies on a gurney, oxygen mask on, grimacing just enough for the cameras. 48 hours later, doctors deliver their verdict. No heart damage. No cardiac event. Just elevated blood pressure. McAfee smirks. Of course he didn't have a heart attack. Later, he admits it was theater, controlled hyperventilation, breath-holding, selling the performance with Oscar-level commitment. The stunt buys time, and time buys leverage. As lawyers flood the system with emergency appeals, Guatemalan officials look for the easiest way out. And they find it. McAfee entered Guatemala illegally from Belize, meaning they don't have to send him back. They can send him home. December 12, 2012. Miami International Airport. John McAfee steps off the plane, disheveled, unshaven, victorious. He's just outplayed two governments, escaped a murder investigation, and turned a guaranteed capture into a free ride home. Federal agents question him briefly. With no U.S. charges pending, they let him go. McAfee grins at the cameras. It's good to be home. But John McAfee didn't escape justice. He delayed it, because the country he just returned to has been watching him this whole time. And they haven't forgotten. January 2013. Portland, Oregon. John McAfee marries Janice, 30 years younger, a woman he met on his very first night back in the United States. For a moment, he tries normal life. Morning coffee. Walks through the park. Netflix at night. The experiment lasts 4 months. Normalcy suffocates him. By summer, McAfee is back to provoking the world. He uploads a video titled How to Uninstall McAfee Antivirus. It's surreal. Absurd. Guns. Women. Mockery of the very software that made him rich. The video goes viral. Next, he announces a presidential run. A brand new cyber party. The platform is pure McAfee. Legalize all drugs. Abolish the IRS. Encrypt everything. He polls at 0%, but dominates headlines. John McAfee isn't campaigning. He's performing. By 2018, he finds his next stage. Cryptocurrency. Bitcoin. Ethereum. Altcoins. McAfee declares them the future, and himself their prophet. From the perspective of 2025, he wasn't entirely wrong. He lives aboard a 75-foot yacht equipped with satellite internet, an armory of firearms, and Janice as first mate. Why a yacht? Because John McAfee knows what's coming. McAfee hasn't filed a tax return since 2010. Hasn't paid $1 in 8 years. Taxation is theft, he says. The IRS is a criminal organization. The IRS disagrees. In January 2019, a federal grand jury in Tennessee secretly indicts him. 8 counts of tax evasion. Failure to file. Willful evasion. Decades in prison if convicted. A source tips McAfee off. Instead of surrendering, he starts the engines. McAfee vanishes into the Caribbean. He tweets a photo from the deck, rifle in hand. Today, I left the U.S. I'm freer than ever. What follows is an 18-month maritime manhunt unlike anything in modern fugitive history.
Cuba.
Dominican Republic. Bahamas. Possibly Venezuela. Every few days, a new harbor. Every few days, a new taunting tweet. He lives on cash and cryptocurrency. Uses encrypted phones and VPNs. Claims to employ body doubles and disguises. He posts photos with lookalikes. Even seeing him, he jokes, doesn't mean you've seen him. Commercial flights are impossible. Every airport is a trap. So he stays at sea, in constant motion. In a strange paradox, his fame protects him. Governments prefer quiet arrests. McAfee makes silence impossible. He broadcasts real and fake locations to millions of followers, daring authorities to keep up. Live interviews from undisclosed rooms. Photos from decoy countries. A tweet claiming arrest in Norway, later revealed as a prank. Authorities chase shadows. July 24, 2019.
Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic.
McAfee's yacht docks for refueling. Authorities, tipped by Interpol alerts, swarm the pier. They board the vessel and detain McAfee, Janice, and the crew. The weapons cache is staggering. For shotguns. 3 handguns. Enough ammunition to arm a small militia. This time, it feels real. But after 4 days and likely quiet negotiations, the Dominican Republic releases him, without charges. They want nothing to do with this circus. McAfee raises a glass of rum as the yacht pulls away. Even when I'm arrested, he says, I walk free. By late 2019, McAfee relocates to Eastern Europe. Safe houses.
Cryptic videos.
I've collected files on corruption across governments worldwide, he warns. If I go down, they go down with me. Bluff or insurance policy, no one knows. Then, in 2020, something changes. Maybe it's exhaustion. Maybe travel restrictions. Maybe age. John McAfee stops running. October 2020. Barcelona, Spain. For the first time in years, John McAfee stands still. And that's when the system finally catches up. October 5th, 2020.
Barcelona, São Prat al Port.
John McAfee steps up to the check-in counter, reportedly bound for Istanbul. He hands over his passport. The scan takes seconds. Then the screen flags red. Within moments, Spanish police surround him.
No chase.
No ocean.
No escape-routes.
After years of running, John McAfee is arrested at the request of the U.S. Department of Justice. The game is over, or so it seems. McAfee is transferred to Brian's 2 prison outside Barcelona. 75 years old. 8 months pass. No weapons.
No gadgets. No yachts.
Just concrete walls and time. Through lawyers, he manages sporadic messages to the outside world. In one tweet, he writes, I am content here. I have friends. But know that if I hang myself, it will be no fault of mine. The reference is unmistakable. Jeffrey Epstein. McAfee's followers take notice. Months earlier, he had tattooed himself with cryptic symbols, claiming he'd been warned of a plot against him. Publicly, he insists he will never take his own life. Privately, the clock keeps ticking. U.S. prosecutors build their case. 8 counts of tax evasion.
Millionaire.
Separate indictments accuse him of cryptocurrency fraud, manipulating markets, orchestrating pump-and-dump schemes, defrauding investors. If extradited, McAfee knows the math. He will die in an American prison. He tells confidants he won't allow that fate. Still, in messages to Janice, he remains defiant. I have no fear of what's coming. Maybe he believes it. June 23, 2021. 1 p.m. Spain's national court signs the extradition order. Within the hour, a court officer delivers the news to Brian's 2. McAfee will be transferred to U.S. custody.
Soon.
Possibly within days. He calls Janice. I love you, he says. I'll call you tonight. There is no evening call. During a routine check, guards find John McAfee hanging in his cell. A bedsheet.
No struggle.
Paramedics arrive within minutes. Time of death, 7:23 p.m. The official cause, suicide by hanging. John McAfee is 75 years old. Captured at last, but never tried. For his supporters, the story doesn't end. Janice insists he was not suicidal, that he sounded hopeful hours earlier, that the timing, mere hours after the extradition order, is too convenient. Spanish authorities conduct an autopsy. No drugs.
No toxins.
No signs of foul play. Cause of death confirmed. The investigation rules it's suicide. But the internet does what it always does. Conspiracy theories ignite. Did McAfee have files on powerful people? Was he silenced? Or did he stage one final illusion, disappearing into legend? McAfee's body remains in a Spanish morgue for months as legal battles over his estate unfold. Even in death, nothing is clean. Here was a man who built an empire on fear, who turned paranoia into profit, who spent a decade defying governments and often winning. He lived as a digital age outlaw, a man who transformed his life into performance art. Once, in a rare moment of quiet, he said, "It's better to live one day as a lion than 1,000 years as a lamb." John McAfee lived that way, loudly, recklessly, and without retreat. And whether he escaped justice or simply outran it until the very end, his story refuses to be forgotten. McAfee's body remains in a Spanish morgue for months as legal battles over his estate unfold. Even in death, nothing is clean. Here was a man who built an empire on fear, who turned paranoia into profit, who spent a decade defying governments and often winning. He lived as a digital age outlaw, a man who transformed his life into performance art. Once, in a rare moment of quiet, he said, "It's better to live one day as a lion than 1,000 years as a lamb." John McAfee lived that way, loudly, recklessly, and without retreat. And whether he escaped justice or simply outran it until the very end, his story refuses to be forgotten. Subscribe for more real-life stories.